What if the most brutal war films were too much for even Hollywood? These are the movies that were so intense. They were banned or buried, never given the recognition they deserve. How did they push the boundaries of war cinema? With every frame, these films expose the darkest corners of humanity, daring to ask, are we ready to face what they show us? Stay tuned for the shocking truths behind these lost masterpieces and discover why they were buried in the first place. Overlord, 1975. Overlord is a war film that's far too often overlooked, and that's downright criminal. This isn't your typical bidawiki epic. It's a haunting fusion of documentary-style footage and dramatic storytelling, following a young soldier's grim journey to D-Day. The film does something rare. It brings the chaos of war to life with an almost suffocating realism, capturing the sheer terror and randomness of a soldier's fate. You're not just watching history unfold, you're submerged in it. The archival footage, originally meant for educational purposes, is used here to amplify the authenticity, while the dramatic sequences pull you deeper into the personal toll of warfare. There's no glorification of battle here, just a relentless, raw look at a soldier's inevitable path toward death. Despite being a Silver Bear winner at the Berlin Film Festival, Overlord has been criminally ignored in the annals of war cinema. Its blend of the real and the imagined creates a unique, almost surreal atmosphere, where the lines between reality and fiction blur. It's a must-see for anyone looking for a war film that doesn't sugarcoat the horrors of combat, but instead stares them straight in the face. Underrated, underappreciated, and entirely unforgettable. King and Country, 1964. When you think of World War I films, you might imagine grand battle sequences or heroic charges. But King and Country flips the script and delivers something far darker. This courtroom drama doesn't feature tanks or machine guns. It's about the horrors of war, as seen through the eyes of one young soldier and the bureaucratic machinery that fails him. The film follows Private Hamp, a British soldier who is court-martialed for desertion after being pushed to his limits in the trenches. Instead of glorifying the military, it pulls no punches in exposing the callousness of the system that prioritizes obedience over humanity. What makes King and Country so impactful is its subtlety. It's a film about emotional and psychological collapse, the kind of collapse that happens when a soldier realizes the war he's been told to fight is meaningless and worse, insane. The performance of Tom Courtenay as Hamp is heart-wrenching, his vulnerability the perfect counterpoint to the brutal, indifferent military machines surrounding him. The film challenges notions of duty, heroism, and sacrifice, posing the uncomfortable question, how much should a soldier endure before his humanity breaks? King and Country might not be as well known as other war films, but it's one of the most thought-provoking, powerful films about the psychological toll of war you'll ever see. The Virgin Soldiers, 1969. If you thought war films were all about heroic men charging into battle, The Virgin Soldiers is here to show you the other side of military life, the mundane, the terrifying, and the absurd. Set during the Malayan emergency, this film pulls you into the lives of young soldiers who are as terrified as they are bored, stuck in a world where fear and apathy collide. The soldiers are barely out of their teens, and yet they're thrust into a war they don't understand, navigating a jungle full of danger and disillusionment. The film is a dark, biting look at the emotional strain of young men who find themselves in a foreign land, far from home, with no clear purpose except to survive. It captures the crushing weight of military service in a way that few films have, and showing how soldiers deal with the boredom of the camp life, the terror of combat, and the confusion of a war that doesn't make sense. What's incredible is how The Virgin Soldiers mixes humor with despair. It's often darkly funny, but that humor masks the deeper, more painful truths about war. This isn't the glorified battlefront. This is the gritty psychological side of being a soldier. It's not just about the enemies you fight, but the demons you face in your own mind. And that's why The Virgin Soldiers is an underrated gem. It exposes the truth behind the heroic image of soldiers, giving us a raw and real portrayal of what it means to fight a war that no one truly understands. The Long and the Short and the Tall, 1961. Set during World War II in the Malayan jungle, The Long and the Short and the Tall is a war film that doesn't give us the usual explosive action sequences. Instead, it forces us to confront the mental and emotional toll of war on a group of British soldiers, trapped in a foreign land with no clear mission. The film is a tense psychological drama that dives deep into the psyche of each character, showing how fear, uncertainty, and the oppressive weight of war can break even the toughest soldiers. What's fascinating about this film is its focus on the human side of war, the personalities, the flaws, and the complex relationships that form under the stress of combat. The soldiers in The Long and the Short and the Tall aren't heroes, they're just men struggling to survive. As they wait for orders in the jungle, they start to unravel, their hidden fears and desires coming to the surface. The film highlights how war doesn't just destroy bodies, it destroys minds, warping relationships and pushing men to their breaking point. While it may not have the massive set pieces that many war films are known for, The Long and the Short and the Tall is far more intense for its quiet moments of internal conflict. It's a brilliant character study wrapped in the guise of a war film, one that challenges the typical narratives of heroism and duty. The McKenzie Break, 1970. Forget the usual POW escape dramas filled with heroic jailbreaks and daring rescues. The McKenzie Break is a slow-burning, suspense-filled war film that turns the genre on its head. Set in a German POW camp in Scotland, the film focuses not on the prisoners escaping, but on the psychological games played between the British captors and their German prisoners. What makes this film so riveting is its refusal to glorify war or the heroism of escape. Instead, it's a taut, tense thriller about power, control, and the struggle for autonomy within a military system that thrives on oppression. The film's main plot revolves around a German officer, played by Ian Hendry, who begins to orchestrate a break from within the camp. But it's not just about the physical escape. It's a battle of wills with the British officer Mackenzie, played by Nigel Davenport, locked in a mental chess game with his German counterparts. The tension isn't just in the planning of an escape, it's in the moral ambiguities of war, the thin line between right and wrong, and the psychological toll of being a prisoner. Whether you're a soldier or a guard, the McKenzie Break is underappreciated, often overshadowed by more conventional war films. But it's one of the most thought-provoking and suspenseful takes on the POW genre. It challenges the notion of the hero's journey, replacing it with a battle of strategy, mental strength, and the crushing reality of survival in a world that's as much about the mind as it is about the body. The Charge of the Light Brigade, 1968. The Charge of the Light Brigade is a biting, cynical take on one of the most famous military blunders in British history. Set during the Crimean War, the film chronicles the disastrous charge made by the Light Brigade, which resulted in the loss of countless lives due to a miscommunication of orders. This film isn't about heroic men charging into battle with flags waving. It's about the futility and sheer incompetence that led to unnecessary death. The film doesn't shy away from showcasing the tragic waste of life, and it highlights the corruption and failure of the British military leadership, making it one of the most scathing critiques of war ever made. What makes this film so striking is how it turns the traditional hero narrative on its head. You expect the soldiers to be hailed as heroes, but instead, they're portrayed as victims of a system that values pride and tradition over human life. The tone is dark, sarcastic, and at times even ironic, as the soldiers are sent to their deaths in a senseless charge that was doomed from the start. The film's visual style, with its sweeping battle scenes and stark depictions of military life, makes the charges feel more like a tragic farce than a noble act of war. The Charge of the Light Brigade is a stark reminder that not all wars are about glory. Sometimes they're about human error, hubris, and the horrific consequences of military incompetence. It's a film that challenges our perceptions of heroism, making it a must-watch for anyone tired of the usual glorification of war. Conduct Unbecoming, 1975. Conduct Unbecoming is a sharp, morally complex courtroom drama that pulls no punches when it comes to exposing the hypocrisy and rigid authority within the British Army. Set in British India, the film revolves around a scandal involving officers of a British regiment charged with immoral conduct. At its core, it is an exploration of class, power, and the consequences of blind obedience to military codes. What makes this film so compelling is how it unearths the hidden moral contradictions within the British military system. The film delves into a case where a young officer, played by Michael York, finds himself caught in the web of institutionalized power and personal betrayal, having to navigate the complexities of loyalty, reputation, and duty. The heart of the conflict lies in how the military institution protects its own, even when its actions are unethical, at the expense of individual rights. Conduct Unbecoming doesn't glorify its military characters. It critiques them, showing their human flaws, desires, and moral weaknesses, making it a truly subversive war film for its time. The slow-burning tension of the film gives way to powerful courtroom confrontations. Watch it where each character is forced to confront their actions. It's a film about a system that hides behind a facade of discipline, masking deep personal failings and corruption. Ultimately, Conduct Unbecoming isn't just about military misconduct. It's about the personal destruction that comes when the institution chooses duty over humanity. And it's a stinging critique that remains relevant today. Private Potter, 1962. Private Potter is a psychological study of war that takes you inside the mind of a soldier in a way few other war films ever attempt. Set during World War II, it follows Private Potter, a soldier who experiences a severe emotional breakdown after being caught in a traumatic event. The film isn't about grand battles or heroic victories. It's about the emotional and mental toll that war takes on the individual soldier. Played by the talented Norman Rossington, Potter's journey is one of internal conflict, where the real battle is fought within his own mind. The film's strength lies in its unflinching portrayal of the soldier's psyche, how guilt, fear, and trauma can unravel the human mind in ways that are just as devastating as physical injuries. Private Potter captures the breakdown of a soldier who cannot reconcile the brutality of war with his own sense of morality and emotional stability. The film offers no clear resolution, leaving the audience to feel the weight of Potter's struggle without easy answers. It's a dark, quiet exploration of the unseen cost of war, mental illness, isolation, and the profound impact that trauma leaves long after the battlefield is quiet. Unlike many other war films, Private Potter doesn't glorify the soldier's experience. It critiques it, showing that sometimes the hardest fight isn't against the enemy, but against the psychological scars that war leaves behind. This introspective, emotionally charged drama should be more widely remembered for its deep, empathetic portrayal of wartime trauma. The Way Ahead, 1944. Made during World War II, The Way Ahead is a remarkable and often overlooked film that looks at the process of transforming ordinary civilians into soldiers. The film's core narrative is about a group of recruits who undergo the harsh training and dehumanizing processes that prepare them for the battlefield. What makes The Way Ahead stand out is its tone. While many war films are focused on action and battle, then this one is about the struggle of ordinary men facing an extraordinary situation. It shows how young men, previously strangers to military life, are shaped by the rigorous training they endure and the camaraderie that forms among them. The film, directed by Carol Reed, is a portrayal of morale building and the psychological effects of war, both on those who fight and those who are left behind. Rather than focusing on battle scenes, the film takes a deeper look at the mental fortitude required to survive military life and the moral decisions soldiers must make. Its emphasis on group dynamics and leadership is particularly poignant, showing how men from all walks of life must come together for a single purpose. In addition to its importance as a morale booster during the war, The Way Ahead offers an insightful reflection on human adaptability and the transforming power of collective purpose. Though it may lack the spectacle of later war films, its historical significance and intimate portrayal of wartime life make it a compelling and often underrated classic. The Cruel Sea, 1953. When it comes to naval warfare films, The Cruel Sea is one of the finest and most intense depictions of the horrors that lie beneath the surface. Set during World War II, this film takes us aboard a British corvette ship navigating the deadly waters of the Atlantic. The film's brilliance lies in how it captures the crushing psychological toll of naval warfare. The crew is made up of young, inexperienced men who are thrown into the heart of battle against German U-boats. And it's not just the physical toll of war that wears them down. It's the constant anxiety, the isolation, and the ever-present threat of death that makes The Cruel Sea such a harrowing watch. The focus is less on grand action scenes and more on the daily grind of life at sea, where the true battles are fought in the minds of the sailors. It's a claustrophobic, often suffocating experience that emphasizes the monotony and terror of being stuck on a ship, constantly under attack but unable to escape. The The performances, particularly from Jack Hawkins and Donald Sinden, are outstanding, portraying men who are trying to hold on to their sanity as the weight of the war slowly crushes them. What sets The Cruel Sea apart from other war films is its emotional complexity. It's not just about defeating the enemy. Or it's about surviving the psychological strain of a constant fear and isolation. The Cruel Sea is a brutal and realistic portrayal of the naval experience, making it one of the most powerful films about war at sea. The Longest Day, 1962. Forget the typical action-packed war movie. The Longest Day takes a grand, sweeping look at D-Day that'll make you rethink the way we remember war. With a star-studded ensemble cast, it follows the events of June 6, 1944, from both the Allied and German perspectives. What sets The Longest Day apart is its ability to show the multifaceted nature of battle, not just as a confrontation between opposing forces, but as a complex human event. This isn't just about soldiers on the front lines. It's about the entire orchestration of military operations, the quiet decisions, the strategic moves, and the personal stakes involved. The film masterfully weaves multiple viewpoints, from the American paratroopers to the British commandos and the German officers, giving us an almost panoramic view of the battle. This massive scale is what makes it so different from the usual war drama. Every character, no matter how small their role, feels essential to the larger picture. The stark contrast between the chaos of the battlefield and the calm before the storm builds emotional tension, showing the buildup of fear and anticipation. But beyond the heroics, The Longest Day doesn't shy away from the heavy costs of war. It reminds us that while some may find glory on the battlefield, many are simply caught in the machine, fighting to survive. It's a grand, indeed dramatic telling of one of history's most pivotal days, one that emphasizes both the triumph and the tragedy of war. The Hill, 1965. If you're looking for a war film that completely dismantles the idea of heroism, The Hill is your brutal reality check. Set in a British Army prison camp in North Africa during World War II, this film takes the usual war movie formula, soldiers fighting for a cause, and flips it on its head, replacing it with a harsh, unforgiving portrayal of military discipline and the effects of authority gone wrong. The plot follows a group of soldiers being subjected to the grueling and oppressive training under the watch of a sadistic officer, where survival isn't just about outsmarting the enemy, it's about enduring the mental and physical torment of your own side. Sean Connery, known for playing James Bond at the time, delivers one of his most intense performances as the veteran soldier, Sergeant Major. His character is less about swashbuckling heroism and more about surviving a system designed to break men down. What's shocking is how The Hill confronts the audience with the raw, painful side of military life. Soldiers aren't just fighting for a cause, they're fighting to retain their humanity. The film never shies away from showing the degradation and cruelty inflicted by authority figures on men who are already struggling to stay afloat in the harsh environment of a desert prison. The title, The Hill, refers to the relentless physical training soldiers must endure, climbing a literal hill as a metaphor for the mental and emotional battles they face. This film is a stark reminder that not all soldiers are made heroes. Some are broken by the very systems that are supposed to protect them. The Hill is a sobering, eye-opening film that challenges everything you think you know about the honorable aspects of war. It's not about the glory of battle. It's about the desperation of survival under oppressive conditions, making it one of the most powerful and overlooked war films of its time. War films often glorify battle, but these underrated classics reveal the gritty, psychological truths that Hollywood tends to bury. Which one shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're craving more raw, unfiltered takes on war, hit like, share, and subscribe. War isn't always what it seems. Sometimes it's worse.